Alright, so we're taking a look at the Beta95x V3 refresh that I posted to my Instagram last week. I know a lot of you guys were asking me about this, so trying to get this video out quickly. And essentially the refresh is a motor update. So they have upgraded the motors from the 1106 3800 kV motors to the 1404 4500 kV motors. And they've changed the props from the 5-bladed gem fans to the 3-bladed gem fans. And with those changes, you get basically a change in the weight. In the original configuration with the 1106 motors, it came in at 116 grams, obviously without the camera. And then in the updated configuration, if you include the screws that I removed, it increased the weight to 124 grams, but I decided to save a little bit of weight and I removed the screws from the motor mounts here. So only 2 screws per motor now for mounting the motors. That would be 8 screws here on top, and then I did not use the screws for mounting the propeller. So I saved those. Basically, that reduced the weight from 124 grams down to 121 grams. Okay, so obviously without the camera. So essentially, in the change in the weight going from the 1106 motor to what you see here without the screws, it went up about 5 grams. Now the benefit is you get better control with the wider stator motor going from the 11 size to a 14 size, and you give up basically the taller stator top end power. So if you're looking to do like drag racing with this, you probably want to get an 1106 motor version, although that's not for sale anymore at BETAFPX. They told me that this is the only version that they are now currently shipping. I don't know what the other stores have. I'm still going to get questions down in the comments. Oh, do you know if XYZ store has this version, the 1106 version, or the 1404 version? And my answer is I have no idea. I don't keep track of what every store's inventory is, and I'm not sure why anyone on YouTube would know that, but apparently people think that I would know that, so they would ask. I don't know what their inventory is like, so you'll have to contact them. I'm sure that they have a phone number or email or whatever store you are interested in getting this at, and I would contact them first to find out which version they're shipping if you're interested in a particular one. So if you particularly like the 1106 motor version and you want that, you probably want to jump on that before they run out of stock in some of the stores. Or if you prefer getting the bigger 1404 motor version, you might want to also contact that store and find out what they're going to be sending out, so you're not disappointed in getting the version that you're not expecting. So definitely contact those stores if you're interested in a particular version, so you can get the one that you actually want to get. So essentially, the flight characteristics of this in the updated 1404 version is much better in my opinion. This is actually the motor I originally told BETAFPX to ship this version out when they were considering making the V3, and they released it with the old 1106 motor version, although they changed the keying in the propeller. I told them that they should have just waited and updated it, released it with the 1404 motor, because I know that some of the other companies like Hom FPV with the wingsuit, and there's a couple of other ones that have the 1404 motor version, like the Protect 25 I think is another one. Those have 1404 motors, and in my opinion they fly better as a Cinewhoop, because you're just doing kind of like slow, deliberate motions, and you want more control at the low end of the throttle. And with the larger stator motor, with all this kind of weight and carrying on a naked GoPro or some sort of naked camera, carrying around the extra weight, you want more precision, more precise control at the low end of the throttle, versus you're never flying this in terms of racing style, where you would need like a taller stator like an 1106 or 1108 motor. If you're racing, those, when you're going full throttle, you want that top end speed and high RPM, but no one flies Cinewhoops like that. They're trying to get nice, smooth, cinematic video. So the 1404 motor makes more sense to me, and it, in terms of flying it slowly, you just feel like you have more control over the Cinewhoop versus the smaller 1106 motor. So this totally makes more sense to me, and now I feel like this is on par with the other Cinewhoops like the Protect 25 and the Wingsuit S. Those, with the bigger motor, they feel so much better. And that's kind of why I waited to put out a sort of a roundup video, because I knew this was coming out, and I didn't want to put out a video comparing the 1106 motor version because I knew that was going to be going away. That's why you guys were like wondering where that video was on a 2.5-inch Cinewhoop roundup, and that's the reason why. But if you essentially want to know my opinion, if you compare all the ones with the 1404 motors, they barely feel the same. Not a whole lot of difference. I mean, obviously, the more weight you add, it's going to feel a little bit more sluggish. But with the bigger motor, the additional weight doesn't make that much of a difference. So I think out of the three that have the 1404 motor, I think the Protect 25 is the heaviest, at least of the ones that have the digital. And that's another reason why, if you are going to go with a 2.5-inch Cinewhoop style and you're going to go with DJI with the more weight, you definitely want to go with the bigger motor. Now, I know that a lot of you guys that are flying analog with flying the 2.5-inch versions of the analogs that have less weight, the differences aren't as noticeable. Or you won't maybe you're like, oh, the 1106 feels totally fine in analog, and that probably might be true to a certain extent, because it is I think about 10 to 15 grams less weight on the analog side for all the ones on the 2.5-inch prop. So, on the smaller 2.5-inch prop, you're going to feel more of a difference for every 5 grams of weight in terms of how it feels in flight. And so on the smaller motor, the analog, it might be okay. But if you're going to be going DJI for any of these, you definitely want to go to the bigger motor for sure. Now, regarding the differences in flight time, I just flew them with the Force 450 and the Force 650. And flight times were pretty similar to the 1106. I think I was getting 3.5 minutes on the 450 and about 4.5 minutes on the 650. So I think BETAFPX makes claims that the flight times are longer. Now, these batteries are older, a lot of cycles on them. So if you have newer batteries, if you have a brand new battery, you're probably going to get a longer flight time. So maybe their claims are true in that case, but I'm not going to go and buy a brand new battery for every single flight test to confirm a manufacturer's claim on a flight time. I can just tell you what I have on some of my older batteries. They have a few hundred flights on them already, so take that with a grain of salt. Maybe you're going to get 4 minutes on the 450 and 5 minutes on the 650. So somewhere in there, I would say you're probably more realistically going to get what I got, something around 3.5 minutes to 4.5 minutes on these two batteries. So, which is fine. On the bigger battery, when you go to the 650, you definitely want to go with a 1404 motor because you're adding so much more weight. Because I did try to fly this with the 1106 motor on the 650, and I didn't really like the way it felt. It just felt really mushy and just not very controllable on this with so much weight at such a small motor. So anyway, I think that's gonna do it. I show you some flight footage. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.